Mr. A here, saying, how y'all doing?
Yo! Are you ready to rumble? Or should I say tumble? Cause I don't stumble or rumble like a cracker flying humble. Standing on the ground.
Welcome to the Rumble. The pain of the claim has done it once again. And yes, we are back and better than ever. Coming to you with all sorts of excitement, brand new information, brand new show, and we cannot wait to get started. But first, all you guys, all you rumblers out there, I don't know what we're going to call you yet.
I don't know.
We have big...
What are we going to call him?
Yeah, the one guy that's
the one guy that listens.
I'm not sure we get to call anything a plural yet, do we? I mean, it's not. I mean, the minimum required to be a plural is not there yet. Yeah. So, I mean, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. So, no, what I want to
we can't pluralize. Anyway, jeez, Louise.
I'm waiting to hand out some of the awards, like the first African American Rumbler. Ever.
That's me.
Well, you're a producer.
I'm grandfathered.
You're not a listener. I'm sorry. You don't count. You're the first African American we had on the show.
Oh, good.
Well, there's
Pioneer.
that. I'm the first white guy we had, if that matters to anybody. No. But seriously, in the world today, I just want to stop for a moment of silence for the passing of Miss Raquel Welch. Andy Dufresne is heartbroken.
Yes.
All right, that's enough of that. So,
sorry, I didn't know who she was either.
Oh my God. That's how young Brent is.
Today,
he didn't even see Shawshank Redemption.
Well, Shawshank is a great movie.
Lie.
And a two-dimensional version of her was actually in the Shawshank Redemption. Yep. That's correct. Yep. So today we are going to be talking about just kind of in general customer communications, the topics that are going to be discussed in 3 15-minute rounds. When you hear this sound, that means the round has begun. And when you hear this sound, that means the round is over, and we are going to move on to the next part of our conversation. But before round one starts, I want to let you guys know that Advocates United is back in Dallas on Friday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. at Dave & Buster's, located right off of Central Expressway and Park Lane. The general admission for this is $45. That general admission ticket gets you a digital copy of the Commercial Claims Advocate Public Adjuster Handbook, and the $95 VIP ticket gets you a digital copy of the Public Adjuster Handbook, a t-shirt, access to the after event meet and greet. We're going to have Jim Johnson, the contractor coach. I'm going to be there. Vince Perry and one of my favorites, Steve Patrick, is going to be there talking about negotiation. And so this is going to be very good, both for public adjusters.
The hat's going to be there too. I don't know if Matt's going to be.
Matt Mulholland's going to be there. I forgot all about that. Yes,
he's coming, but I know the hat's going to be there.
The hat. He's actually in Oklahoma the day before. So if you're wanting to know how to beat engineers, not a bad guy to go get a hold of there in Oklahoma. I'm not sure if he's in Oklahoma City or Tulsa. I can't imagine he'd be in any other town there if he wanted people to show up. So, I mean, Matt's going to be there. He's going to be, I like to call him the professor.
He is the professor.
He's so good, and he's going to be unpacking a lot of this stuff. And he has kind of gotten a specialty at dealing with engineers, and so I know hopefully he'll be bringing some of that knowledge to this event. But it's a great event, guys, and don't hesitate. Get your tickets. I do fully expect this event to sell out, and so those of you who showed up in Miami thinking you were going to be able to buy a ticket the day of, you found out that is not going to happen. Denied. Standing room only. You were in the lobby, standing next to the restroom, hoping you could steal somebody's wristband, trying to figure out what the hand stamp looked like so you could slip by security. Well, guys, I'm telling you, that is not going to be able to be done at this event. We are, again, Dave & Buster's, really cool place. The venue is awesome. Even after the event is done, you're at Dave & Buster's. I mean, if you can't have fun at Dave & Buster's, I don't know where you can have fun. So
either way, it's not a wasted trip.
It's not a wasted trip. So
did we forget to introduce everybody?
Well, I figured everybody knew who we were by now.
Well, we
but
didn't know that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the one guy does, but Maybe he tells a friend.
Well, here I am. I'm Jeremy Lavelle. I am the owner and CEO of Remedy Claims Consulting. I am also your host, sitting alongside with my good friend and co-host Brent Hooper of Max Claims out of Baltimore, Maryland. And as always, the one, the only, the ever ready, constantly. I don't know. I was trying to pull in some alliteration, and I just, whatever. So, I mean, she is working the board. She's doing it for us as she always does. Anything you hear that sounds cool on the show, it is not me. It is not Brent. It is the one, the only Baby Cakes.
Baby Cakes.
Also known as Donna. Also known as my wife.
Thank you.
So, and we're all glad to be here. Brent, how's it going, man?
Good.
Well,
good.
Awesome. Are we ready to get into it?
I suppose so.
Round one.
Just another hump day under the belt.
Round one, setting and managing customer expectations.
We don't even know what to say.
Look, I mean, so I'm. How do you manage something that can't be managed? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. I mean, despite some of our best efforts, and I consider communication one of my strong suits, really and truly. But people like to be communicated with in different ways. Brent, have you ever got the guy that just wouldn't answer his phone and all he does is answer a text or an email? He won't talk to you on the phone.
That's me.
And then the texts or the emails that you get are, short novels.
Right.
Or it's, when you get, it's not a text, it's 25 of them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a moving target, right? An expression that you and I always use is the goalposts constantly get moved.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that there's some ways setting expectations is one thing. And some people need to take a page out of that book. Some people, you've got to really think about how you want to set up your service and all of that stuff. But setting and managing are two wildly different things.
Yeah, because they change.
Yeah.
Their expectations change. Yeah.
You can't set it and forget it. You gotta reset.
Well said. Yeah, you can't set it and forget it. And sometimes, again, whether you're a new PA, an experienced PA, a new salesperson, an experienced salesperson, owner, manager, whatever, this is something that doesn't go away in any sort of business or service or what have you. And so it's one thing to tell someone what you're going to do. It's another thing to sort of manage or adapt that goal, the messaging throughout that process. Because setting an expectation is nothing more than setting a goal or a target, right? I'm going to tell you that, I am going to attend your adjuster meet next week. Well, guess what? If I get in a car accident on the way there, I'm probably not going to make it.
You said you were going to be there, though.
Yeah, So, but once you get through the preliminary sort of, this is who we are, this is what we do, and then fill in the rest of the expectations, what I find the most challenging thing is that ongoing, the weekly grind of communicating. Do you find the same thing with that?
Look, yes, I do. Especially when I'm not communicating, I'm recommunicating.
Yes.
That's the exhausting thing for me, is when I have communicated. And in order to really kind of unpack this, I want to go back I kind of want to walk back so that I can get to the point that I really want to make. And what I want to walk back to is it's those questions that all clients have. Do you know what I mean? It's those, and I'm just going to throw one out there. How long will this take?
So hold on. Let's talk about something.
Think we're going to get?
Guess what the answer
So I wrote a couple of those, dude. They're on my. No one can see this, but they're on my. I wrote a couple of them down, right? And they're fucking. They are trap questions. They are trap questions. And I'm telling you, whether you're, again, it doesn't matter
like big nasty ugly bear traps.
yeah. Like you're going to have, even if your leg survives, you're still going to get some crazy infection. Like it's one of those ones, man. Like, so okay, how long is this going to take? Real talk. What? I want you to tell me things that you used to say versus kind of if a homeowner called Remedy Claims Headquarters right now, what would you say, or what do you train your people to say? You know, when that, because it inevitably is going to get fucking asked on every call. So, you know, what do you think, Jeremy?
Well, I'm not going to hold you to anything, but I mean, you've done a lot of these. You've done a lot of these, right? I mean, you've done this a lot. So, I mean, you know, so I'm not going to hold you to anything. Yeah, I know you're not going to hold you to anything. I know you're not writing this down. I know that I'm not going to hold you to anything. But I mean, I just, you know, kind of give me a ballpark of what we're looking at here.
And even when you tell them this could take this, you know, certain amount of time, they get antsy. They don't know what to do with themselves.
Well, Donna and Jess kind of brought it up, and I know that she wasn't really kidding. And so, Donna, feel free to jump in here. The answer to all of those questions, unfortunately, is it depends.
Or maybe.
You know, I mean, it's like, look, we do not have the full deck of cards. I mean, we're not sitting here going based on, I mean, we can extrapolate some information and we can make some projections, but I mean, they are wild ass projections. I mean, I have seen things that I thought was going to take months and months and months, and I closed it in 7 days. Yep. You know, and I've seen things that I thought was a slam dunk, and it ended up going to appraisal. And then 3 months later, we lost the appraisal. I mean, you just can't ever, I mean, you just never know. And so the reality is that you have to, and this is the point that I want to make, is that managing and setting and then managing said expectation, because the reality is those expectations are going to vary based on their patience and what is going on in their life, because you can tell them, look, it's going to take 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I had one client that I told him, I said, yeah, I'm expecting it's probably going to be about 2 or 3 weeks before we get said report from the engineer. Well, on day 20 of 21, that guy wants to know where the report is. He said, well, you know, I told you it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. He goes, well, it's already been 2. Oh, so when I said 2 or 3, you thought you got to pick. Oh, let me reset that.
Well, they don't get it. We can only see our side of the battleship board. We have no idea what
really. Yeah, and that's a great analogy, actually. Yeah, I mean, based on some things that we have, some facts that we have, but setting those is, you know, that's generally more the easy part, but it's getting out in front of something that we see that's going to go wrong and then resetting the expectations. It's like, okay, we have to pull out an engineer. This is going to elongate the claim process for another probably 6 weeks. The moment somebody says the word engineer, add a month and a half to it.
All right.
Just automatically, that one person takes everything stops and halts, and then you insert 6 weeks for that guy to contact you, set an appointment, show up, and write a report, and turn it into the carrier, and the carrier to get back to you. Because the moment those things... Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done. That's it.
My answer, again, so these questions apply at different phases. Right. So a homeowner calls in, I need your help. Okay, great. I want to hire you. You know, how long you think this is going to take? I'm to the point where, and I say it sort of jokingly, but also very seriously, this could take 30 days or it could take 9 months.
Right.
And I usually, it sounds cheesy, but I'll usually follow it up with, look, this is an insurance claim. It is very much a process. And if I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be on the phone with you.
Right.
Period. I can't.
Yeah.
I'll put some lipstick on it because I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to be as honest as I can without setting some sort of false pretense, right? I'll usually tell them like, hey, every single time I've set a timeline or an expectation, I'm usually wrong. So I just stopped doing it. It's just what it is. Because really what you're asking me is how long is it going to take the insurance company to see it our way? And then if I attempt to answer that or said it's a false pretense, right? So let's just say that the insurance company does everything that I say they're going to do up to the inspection. Well, then how long does it take to get an estimate written? Well, then how long does it take for them to review it? Well, then how long does it take to cut a check? Then how long does it take for us to get the check at our office? Then how long does it take for your mortgage company to process it? So like there are all these variables and I don't get this much into depth usually with a homeowner, but these are the things when they say, well, how long is it going to take? We really can't answer it, and there's all different ways to be, I guess, clever, but because the reality is, again, you want to be honest, you want to educate them, but you don't want to be on the phone for three fucking hours trying to explain every nuance to to their property claim.
Well, and
like, you can't address every concern,
right?
Yes. You don't want to freak them out.
It's called opening a can of worms.
Well, and the other thing that I would say, so there's like this good rule of thumb that, people have heard applied in many different situations, and that is, under promise and over deliver, or those kinds, you know what I mean? But even in the claims process, I think you said it perfectly when you said this could take 8 days or this could take 9 months. I don't really know, because it depends on sort of what happens once I get into it and sort of how they respond to the strategy for coverage that I'm sort of going after. And trust me, I am not picking the most difficult road. I'm picking the most obvious one that makes it easy for them to extend coverage. I cannot think of a public adjuster that goes, hey, wait a minute, I got an idea. Here, hold my beer and let's do this as hard as we possibly can. And figure out a way. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. We want to get this thing closed as quickly as we possibly can. And the quickest way to handle it is not hire me and then just take whatever it is that they hand you, some below deductible perfunctory estimate, and then you're done. The claims process is over. So if your goal, because what I'm trying to figure out here is what is your concern about the timeline? And that really may be a better question to ask as a follow-up rather than trying to guess what it is that they've got going on. If I'm standing in somebody's living room on November 1st and they ask me how long it's going to take, I've got enough awareness to know why are you guys having people over for Thanksgiving or something? Is that your plan, is to use your house for Thanksgiving? What is it that you've got going on that the timeline concerns you about?
That's brilliant. That's golden right there, because look, and I'll be the first to admit it, I've made this mistake. I'm trying to sign a claim. I'm trying to get this person off the phone because I got 35 other phone calls to make. And for whatever reason, I'm in a rush on this particular day with this particular homeowner, and it's no fault of the homeowner. It's entirely my fault. But, I'm 90 days into the fucking claim to find out that they're trying to sell their house. And that's part of the reason why they're being such a pain in my ass. Well, that's my fault for not having the situational awareness to ask the right questions and figure out, hey, why is this person so butthurt about, how long every freaking waking thing is going to take? If I tell them I'm going to send them an email this morning and it's, and I'm going to send it first thing and it's 7:03. Well, first thing in the morning was 6 a.m. You get my point. It's like, why is this person being so annoying? Oh, well, they're trying to sell their house. Well, now I didn't ask that question.
Now I get it. Now I understand because they have closing scheduled in 2 weeks. And if you'd have told me that, I would have told you we're going to have to reschedule that. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And sometimes, so some of these expectations, and I hate to get to this one because that's the time one. The bigger one here is money. And I know we're almost out of time in this round, but expectation of payment is another thing that they're looking at. And sometimes there's a lot of good reasons. One, they've already spent a ton of money dealing with the loss just as it pertains to maybe mitigation. Now they can't sleep in their bedroom, but the adjuster hasn't come out and approved ALE. And so there's all of these additional extra expenses that are going with it. And they're not even aware that the insurance company pays for that or how the coverage works, those sorts of things. So those expectations are extremely difficult to manage. And I get that. And so it's one of those places where I'm not sitting here suggesting that you should in any kind of way, like schedule meetings, on the calendar. We're going to meet weekly at noon on Wednesday, and I'm going to give you an update because sometimes those sorts of things are not achievable either. And you'll just end up disappointing them. The idea here is touch the file regularly. When you touch the file, let the client know via email, text message, or give them a call. If they answer, do that. I know, if they answer, tell them what it is. Now, I would prefer they not answer and let me leave them a voicemail or send them a text message so that I can get my update out. And if they have questions regarding my message, then I'm happy to answer those. But it's something that it's a continual effort, no matter how far or how hard or how easy the claim is. I've had those clients where we sat in a holding pattern because we were waiting on something to be done, and I'm off working other claims. I'm trying to close other claims. I have put this thing on the back burner, and I'm not really looking at it because I'm waiting on that particular set of information.
A couple like little practical things that I try to keep in mind that I talk to my people about when it comes to this expectation setting or managing is things that I like to call home base. So like at the beginning of the process, we send out a welcome letter. It's part of our process. Our service agreement. And then throughout the process, we're going to get into communication protocol in round 2. But like some of these particular items, I like to call home base because if for nothing more, something that doesn't change is our service agreement. So when it comes to the communication expectation setting and managing said expectations, sometimes, your little intro letter, and again, maybe not everybody does that. We do. It's sort of like a very 100,000 foot view of what to expect next. And then from there, we've got our service agreement, which your service agreement needs to adhere to state requirements. But there's some other stuff in our service agreement that we have that all was attorney approved. But sometimes I like to go back to that and remind the homeowner like what we do, right? It's home base. Those are things that don't change through the process. Those are a few of the only static things in this thing that we call public adjusting, right? So that's sort of a practical. We have a couple cut sheets, things that we do on every single claim that I like to use as like friendly reminders. I train my staff to utilize them that way. With a homeowner, it's like, hey, I want to remind you, do you have ABC form in front of you? Yes. Well, I want to remind you, like we talked about this on Jump Street, and we talked about it again here, and we're talking about it again today. So anyway, I'll leave that there, but that's helpful stuff that it doesn't go away, right? It's record. They signed it. Good. So anyway.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And those things are hard. And that's why I really love the next one is because the reality is that the need to set and manage expectations is there. That is part of your job. Is to continue to communicate because you have stepped into a place they would ordinarily be in control of. So understand that there are people that are very thankful that you're handling it, and then there are people that are dealing with this with a certain amount of trepidation as it pertains to turning over their most expensive, most valuable investment in their life. They're turning the welfare of that over to you. So knowing how to keep them happy is really important. So
really quick, keeping them in the loop, keeping them, I guess, managing it. something that I used to run into a lot, because look, especially as you get into, I guess, larger claims or more nuanced claims, and we talk about this all the time, every claim has its own sort of unique aspects to it. I don't give a shit if you're talking about roof claims or historic buildings. Every one of them has some sort of imprint or wrinkle that differentiates it from the next. And so one thing that I used to get tripped up on, you're on the phone or a homeowner, they're peppering you and they've got this question and that question. I wasn't confident in saying, I don't know. And I don't end the sentence there, but saying like, hey, you know what? I'm not sure. And I'm going to need to get back to you on that.
Right. And that's, and that's always a fair answer. It has to be a fair answer.
One of the reasons why I wasn't confident doing it is because for whatever reason, and maybe I have a misread on our industry, but I feel like as public, again, it doesn't matter what side of it, appraisal world, PA world, insurance company adjuster world, contractor world, we have this obsession with being know-it-alls. Again, that's just a Brent. That's an intuitive, that's a feeling that I have. Sure. We have this obsession of like fucking knowing everything about everything, and it's just not a reality. And so it occurred to me that, I've worked with attorneys before I was in the claim world. I work with attorneys weekly now, and attorneys get paid a lot of attorneys get paid a lot of money to know attorney things, legal matters, right?
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, it's like, wow, this attorney makes $450 an hour, and they say I don't know a lot.
Yeah,
they say it depends a lot.
Yeah,
and the thing is because they're not going to sit there and blow smoke up your butt. And so it hit me. It's like, well, not that I ever intended to do that with a homeowner, but it hit me. It's like, it's okay to not be like quick on the trigger and have the answer every single time and know exactly what to say when.
And that is Mrs. hard for me to not have the answer. Dude. I mean, crushes my soul when I'm in that situation. Absolutely crushes my soul.
But as it relates to, setting expectations or managing expectations, sometimes the best answer is, hey, you know what? I'm not 100% sure. Let me go try to hunt down an answer on that. Let me see if I can get somebody on the phone to clarify that timeline or clarify.
And then get back to them with the answer. Don't use that as something to get them off the phone. And I think that's the important thing. And another important thing is military veterans and first responders need our help, guys. Many of them have trouble transitioning to civilian work and life, but they can thrive in meaningful and rewarding careers. Veterans Claim Victory is a 501c3 nonprofit helping veterans and first responders transition to civilian work in the insurance claim industry, and we can reach many of these heroes and assist in education, training, job placement, and support, regardless of the insurance claim career that they want to choose. For more information, please visit veteransclaimvictory.org. And those guys are awesome. I love Mark Goldwich, and they are doing some really good work. I know we talk about these guys a lot, but I'm so appreciative of what they do. Being a former military guy myself, I am glad that there are people helping these guys get placed when they get home. Or even if they've been home for a long time, you can never tell. Life turns, and I just love having something that benefits them moving forward, no matter when they served. So, guys, so round two is communication protocols. Brent, tell me what are some of the static things that you guys have in place? Just, through your firm, because you've got multiple people working at your firm. So there's communication between the inner office people that are going on. And then there's obviously communication with the adjuster. And then there's communication with, the homeowner. So there's lots of protocols here in place. So just kind of talk to me a little bit about sort of what y'all's inner office and what your static ones are in those three categories.
If it's not in our CRM, it didn't happen. That's something that I guess from a management.
I've done lots of things that have never happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
As operations, you've got to keep that's communication. You have to keep up with your notes.
Super important. So the CRM tool, if you're a seasoned PA, newer, it doesn't matter. You need to have a CRM that has windows in it so that your counterparts in the office can see what's going on. And, I'm as responsible for putting my notes in on claims I'm servicing as anybody else. That's a cultural thing. It's a trainable thing. It's a job. It's in the job description thing that is static. It doesn't go away. So, and with that being said, every interaction needs to be input into the system. So if I text a homeowner or if I call a homeowner, I don't need to put my text in there, but a placeholder is ideally put in the system. It's like sent text messages to homeowner about, deck screen bid. So that way, when I'm going through the claim file 2 months from now, or if I ever need that, it's in there, and that tells me to go back to my text messages on that day, et cetera. So that's, it's in the sort of, to answer your question, it's static. The CRM, it starts there. It's in the job description for me and anybody else that's there. And then in terms of the behavior, it's got to be in there. If it's not in there, it didn't happen. And we train it. And I'm sure my people are sick of hearing me fucking talk about it. But the thing is this is like a little pro tip for if you've been in the PA world or if you've been in the claim world for a while, you absolutely know what I mean. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. If you're a little bit newer, make note. You will be asked 3 months from now about something that is seemingly inconsequential today. And that thing that doesn't mean jack shit to you today is going to be important 3 months from now. And if you don't have any notes, any record, anything, it's going to cause you more stress than it was ever worth had you just put a damn note in.
Amen.
Mark my words.
Preach on.
I can't. That's just pro tip. And if you're a PA that's been in the game or whatever, and you don't have some mechanism for this, keep your heart rate down, and start implementing something like this to help yourself out. Sticky notes that's not the plan.
I would like to point out. I would just like to point out what CRM stands for. It's called Customer Relationship Management. That is really what it is. And so you really do have to develop that relationship with your client, and having these things in place is critical. Now, I'm going to tell you at Remedy Claims, there are ways that we did that. So we had basically two separate systems that we worked within. One of them was more of our file track system, which we called RCM, which was Remedy Claims Manager. And then we also used another product that you've heard us kind of pump here on the show called Thrive, that was really more of the relationship manager portion, the communication, the upload your files, sort of the portal, sort of touch kind of thing that they had that was available to them. We used that more as kind of the communication tool, whereas RCM was sort of our file track. Now, I know
we used to call it Rectum.
Yeah, we did.
Now, here's the thing, and I want to make your point scalable to our audience, because whether it's the system I use or the one you use, the reality is, the pro tip is harness your system.
Sure.
Right? Whatever, there's some really good ones out there in whatever space that you're in. Make sure that you understand how the stuff works. I don't know how many PAs I've talked, contractors, PAs, whatever, people I've talked to where they're paying all this money, but they don't even know how to run a freaking report. Right.
What I want to know is, what are some of those? I mean, there's a lot of communication protocols. You've got inter office sort of communication that goes on. You've got customer communication that goes on. You got carrier communication. What are some of the static things that you have in place within your workflow that are those protocols to help the outcome?
So CRM is number one. I mean, it's a protocol. It's static. It doesn't change. We have a pretty powerful CRM tool that we use, and from interviewing staff to hiring to training, it's in the job description. And basically something that's static is, hey, if it's not in the system, it didn't happen. And so with that being said, that's a rule. I beat it to death, and I'm as responsible for it as anybody else. And all of our everything needs to go in its place in the system. And that really helps. You know, something that we train is, hey, at any time, somebody else in my office should be able to sort of click into a claim and give a homeowner the proverbial update, right?
Yeah.
So that's from 100,000 feet, and I'm happy to get into some more detail, but that's a short
Can I tell
answer.
you one of the things that I'm worst at?
Yeah.
Like I am telling you, for as long as I have been adjuster, one of the rule number one is you had to note the file, document the file, note the file, whatever. Anytime you talk to anybody concerning the claim whatsoever, you noted the file. I'm going to tell you to do as I say and not as I do. You know, and Brent is really, really right. You have to document it. I am terrible at that. And let me tell you the pitfall that I want you to avoid, that I have been swimming in quicksand over for, every time I believe I'm going to remember. I fully believe that I'll remember that I talked to this person. I'll just scroll through my phone at the end of the day. And I've actually tried to sit down and do that, and I've come across names and phone numbers that I do not remember what we talked about, even if I remember the guy's name, sometimes I don't even remember what it was he called and asked me about. And I am telling you, I am racking my brain on how to do it. So there's in the world of voice to text, there should never be a situation where you can't take that note. Now you may need
that's what you've been doing that.
And that's how I work around that, is I just go ahead and I do that. Like I was on an inspection today. I've got to write my inspection blurb kind of about the situation with the file all together. And I've got to get that done today so that I remember all of it. Cause if I go and I'm looking at another loss tomorrow, I have got a lot going on this weekend. I've got all of this stuff going on before I even get back to this thing. And if you don't do it right away, you will forget. There will be a detail that you miss. So yes, the CRM and noting that file is critical. It's absolutely critical. Let me ask you this, Brent. What are protocols that you have in place for the carrier?
So we have, you mean in terms of like follow-up frequency, or like what
any of it? I mean, let me give you an example. One of our communication protocols when we're talking to a carrier is that the call is recorded. We try to get as much as we can in writing. Those are protocols that we have.
We don't record every call. But again, guys, I want to stress something, because I'm not coming from a mountain on high here, but the bottom line is perfection is a goal, not a reality. And so something that we strive for is if you call an adjuster and leave a voicemail, you send an email saying you did so. If you talk to the adjuster on the phone, you hang up and you send a quick email that recaps what happened. Now, granted, I realize how sort of grandiose and idealistic that sounds, but I'm not talking about writing a dissertation. I'm not. And so to that end, if I talk to an adjuster for, 5-7 minutes on a phone, we cover our bullet points, and I'm driving in my car, I might call my office and say, hey, so-and-so, I need you to do me a favor, pull the claim up, blah, blah, blah. Send an email to the adjuster, thank them for their time, and, CC me on behalf of Brent, our public adjuster, blah, blah, blah. Our call today, we discussed this and that, and you mentioned that you would be sending over whatever document, right? It's a process. There's a couple steps, but it's something that it's absolutely worth the time, because here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you don't do it, if you've been in the claim world for a while, you'll understand If you're newer, maybe you understand. If you're really new, maybe you just haven't had this happen yet. But something that seems so freaking inconsequential today is going to come up 3 months from now. And it's going to be really important 3 months from now. And so by virtue of the fact that we can't predict the future, the one thing that we can control in that process is get your damn note in the system. So that way there's some record of whatever it is. And that your claim life isn't a big bundle of he said, she said, or you told me this, or we talked about this a week ago. Well, guess what? If your records are pretty good, and I'd like to think ours are pretty good. I mean, again, it's something that we try to be. I in particular am pretty anal about it. I suck at it, but I'm pretty anal when it comes to my people, or not my people. That sounded terrible, but like my team. Reason being is because I rely on people to help me, right?
Actually, so I want to insert.
We got to get the stuff in there. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I want to insert here is the quickest way to make sure no one can help you is not note your file. Because the moment that
dude, well said. That's well said.
If you at any point in time, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this because the Texas catastrophe season legitimately started about 2 months early this year, as it sometimes does. I think there's something like Wombat Day that happens on December the 15th that the wombat flies across the lake. Then catastrophe season starts early, yes, but if the lake is drained, and then it doesn't start till March 15th. I think it's like something like that
somewhere in the claim Bible.
Anyway, but the point is that when you get busy, that is your opportunity to scale your firm or even scale your reach as it pertains to you being a public adjuster and what happens next year when your verticals are contractors or your verticals are attorneys, being able to follow through and have people come in and help you, because more than likely Brent could call me. He's like, Jeremy, I'm going to be out of town for a week, but I've got this engineer meeting that's going to show up. Is there any way that you can cover that meeting for me? And it's like, sure, Brent and I are going to talk about it because we saw it coming. But if that engineer throws something sideways at me or the homeowner asks me a question, I'm going to have to go back to the notes. And it's like, evidently it was something they previously discussed. I hope Brent has enough notes in here so that I can answer this homeowner's question. And so what you're doing is you're setting yourself up to be helped when you make these notes.
Let me chime in there. You just brought up something, and I had a team meeting today that I call it claim inventory. And so in the context of setting expectations with a homeowner and managing expectations throughout, these things, they change. The shelf life of a claim, the claim, there's different steps and phases and shit that goes on. And so your claim inventory changes at the beginning of for example, at the beginning, when you first get involved, your claim inventory might sound something like, need to do preliminary on-site. I need to, go inspect damage, Matterport, and take static photos. That might be my claim inventory. And that inventory might look the same for the first 2 or 3 weeks you're on the claim until you can get out, do your preliminary, inspect, photo document, and again, we'll say Matterport. Okay, great. Once you check those things off your list, your claim inventory might turn into estimate production and, fucking proof of loss. But even more, once you get into the minutia of the claim, let's say you get past all that and your estimate sent in and, you ask for 50, the carrier gives you 40. Well, now you have as you move forward, your claim inventory changes, and we track that in our system. It's like I call it claim inventory, but it's nothing. It's a glorified way of saying your to-do list now. Your next step now. It's a trackable. It's a field in our system
right now. Yeah,
and this is right. So in that hypothetical, if I was sending you out to, hey Jeremy, look, man, I'm going to be out of town a couple of days. Can you stand in for me? I would ultimately be sending you my claim inventory. Look, here's why the engineer meetings happen, and here's the four things that we're trying to get addressed. And you being you would know what to do from there. But outside of that, that's sort of that's a static, that's a thing that, do we have it mastered and is it great and perfect all the time? No, but that's sort of the ideal. Throughout the claim in our CRM, we are actively managing that inventory of what's the next 1, 2, 3, 4 things.
Well, and that's important as it pertains to that claim inventory and that to-do list that you were talking about, Brent, because I know how to make a decision. I don't need to call, I wouldn't need to call Brent on a particular claim to know what to do. I don't have to talk to him to know kind of what my own strategy would be. But if he's kicked the can down the road for a distance under this one strategy, then I'm going to want to go chase that strategy down. I don't want to bring up an engineer when an engineer is not a direction that, it may be a direction that Brent's completely trying to avoid altogether. You know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing this as an engineer being the thing that's going to win the claim for us. Now, we can have two different approaches. They can both be right. Both things can be right.
Context is key.
But you're right. The context is key. So these notes are really important. And while I feel like we fully discussed something that I'm super bad at, I want to talk about something that I'm really good at. But first, Donna, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that when you're looking for a CRM or something or a workflow, you're going to want something that resembles law firm software, because that's the closest thing that I can liken to what we do and the roles that.
And I would like to point out that Donna has spent a lot of time in your proverbial contractor software, where it's a job management software, it's a project management software, as opposed to a claim management software. And so she's looked at a lot of those, and in fact, she built our workflow.
Yeah.
So
our
and because it's different, it's considerably different. So, I mean, these are all. I mean, because noting the file and keeping that system up to date should be a protocol in your world. Again, do as I say, not as I do. Now, enough about stuff that I suck at. Here's a protocol that I'm actually really, really good at, almost to a fault, and that's answer your damn phone. Come on. There is no reason to push it. Whatever bad, if it's a bad phone call, it's probably not going to last that long. I can tell you that it's probably going to be whatever it is that they're mad about. They're waiting to emotionally vomit that all over you. I promise you that. So it's probably not going to take that long. Number two, they can't eat you. All that's going to happen is they're going to get off the phone. Either you're going to be fired or you're going to give them an idea of what you're going to do to rectify the situation. But you can't ever hope to get them happy ever again if you don't answer your phone. You've got to answer your phone.
Facing the music, this is I can relate to this. If you don't want to call that adjuster, it's like, last time I talked to this adjuster, I needed to go to therapy, or I don't want to talk to this homeowner because fill in the blank, or this contractor, or this vendor, this mitt guy, this girl, this gal, whatever it is. To Jeremy's point, it doesn't go away. So, face the music, take it on the chin. It's okay to get fired. It's okay to, don't make a habit of it, of course.
But it's important because you have to then go back.
Resetting expectations.
You have to reset those expectations, and it's like, and where they can expect to get that from, but you're not going to know that. And to the point that if it's bad, you pushing it off ain't making it any better. That ass chewing that you would have taken if you answered the phone is going to be far less if you answer the phone now than it will be if you push it off for a day.
So with that, This is obvious tip number 15 for this podcast, but know what your job is. It sounds super dumb, but again, it's one of those industry things. If you put 50 public adjusters in a room, I feel like you probably get at least 15 or 20 different answers, right?
Yeah.
But there's definitely some basics you better check off when you're answering that question. But for you, if I answer the question, it might sound a little bit different than Jeremy, or the next guy or gal in line. But when you're dealing with your clients, make sure you know what your job is. What are you telling your client your job is as their public adjuster from day one? And get good at it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't sound too much different. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to chime in here, guys. Everything that Brent is saying there, as far as get good at it, you're going to want to know how good you are and what your role is and what your job is because you're going to want to fall back on that. Because when you get on the phone with a client that is ripping you a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double wide asshole, you're going to want to fall back on the fact that, look, I need to know what my job is. I need to reset expectations, and I have got to get this thing back on the track where I am driving this bus as it pertains to the claim, and I am directing how this goes, and I'm not going to be pushed around. And that's the thing that you have to realize. Your number one role is you are running the claim. You're the one in charge of the claim.
Yes. And to piggyback that, it usually, again, ego aside, however you want to say it, it's usually somewhat cathartic to be able to tell a homeowner, like I told you from day one. This is what I told you from day one. It's what I told you on day 30 and 60, and here we are on day 120, and I'm telling you the same thing. And this is what I've done over the last 2, 3, 4, whatever months that reinforces that. So I told you this on day one, that I'm here to prove folks hire me to help them prove their loss when they experience a property claim. That is what I do. It's a large part of what I do. Here is what we have done to prove your loss up to this point. So get good at being able to say what your job is, because as it relates to communicating, setting, resetting, managing expectations, that is a fallback.
Look, I mean, there's like 30 other communication protocols that I could think of right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? From the inner office to the carrier to the homeowner and all of the different things that you do. The basic thing is realize everybody's looking at you. Everybody is wanting answers from you,
whether it's your job or not.
And I promise you, there's no answers under the rock, and there's no answers in the darkness. And so what you've got to do is you have got to step into the light, and transparency has got to be the uniform of the day as it pertains to communication and what you're doing. Those protocols, you need to keep claim transparency in front of you. Best advice I could give in this situation. The Pain of the Claim is looking for sponsors. We would love to promote a business that provides services or equipments to public adjusters, restoration companies, roofers, contractors. You kind of get my point here. Examples would be like safety gear, roofing related products, restoration equipment, payment services, CRMs, reporting services, social media services, filming, whatever it is that you're looking for. This is the home for you to advertise. So don't hold back. Let's come together. Let's partner together. Let's get the word out about you and your business, and let those of us here at the Rumble and the Pain of the Claim help you tell your story. And that's what we want to do. We want to get excited with you. So if you are looking for a way to promote your business, I can't think of a better way than to get Brent to read your spot, because he's really good at it.
Or me.
Yeah.
That was probably the first and last time I'm ever going to.
These two are pros. I'm telling you what.
If you want someone to hack your value proposition, Brent's your guy.
Yeah. Moving into round 3, guys. Round 3 is going to be the postmortem reports and closing the claim with the client. I had an adjuster where I came up with this idea is I had an adjuster that lost a file. I mean, just absolutely got his teeth kicked in. And I said, well, you know what? It happens. And it was a water loss is what it was. And the carrier wouldn't even come out to inspect. He went through the whole, filed a complaint with the Department of Insurance. and argued and wrote emails, and I mean worked the claim as hard as he possibly could. He updated the file. I looked at this thing and I said, and I just basically looked at him and said, well, sometimes you lose. And he just could not get over it. I said, you know what you need to do is you need to go right down and just evaluate what you believe you did right, what you could have done better, and that's just your own self-reflection to make you a better person. And then go call your client and let them know what you did. And those are hard to do when you lost. I just recently lost an appraisal. Or what I would consider losing. And I know that what the homeowner was expecting considered it losing. But these are things that we have to sit and unpack that make us better. They do. I mean, so, I'm not going to be cheesy and say a failure is not a failure. It's an opportunity to improve. I'm not, because God,
I just threw up a little bit in my mouth, but
I'm not going to go down that road, but there is an element of truth to that. I am just saying that going back and looking at it, because you can take that, especially if it's a loss, you can walk away with a very heavy feeling of rejection. And I don't want to get into self-loathing, but it can happen to you where you're not processing the information, and it can jack with your confidence. And I don't know if you've ever walked into an adjuster meeting, Brent, where you weren't completely confident, but you'll get reamed.
Absolutely.
And you need to get this thing off of you before you go get into something else. And the postmortem, to talk with the client, talk with your supervisor, whoever your mentor is. When I get my teeth kicked in, I call Brent. Just got my teeth kicked in. I just got bitch slapped by the carrier, and it's like I thought I was going to win this one. And it's like getting those off and just hearing Brent go, dude, you're one of the best public adjusters I know. There is no way, and I've gone through phases. Donna's got a beautiful saying about roofs.
They hurt your feelings.
Roofs will hurt your feelings. They will. And it's like you just cannot gauge, because remember what your job is. Your job is not to win. Your job is to prove the loss. And if you did that and the carrier still said no, that doesn't mean you failed. Right? So your job is to prove the loss.
I don't like getting into, semantical bullshit, but like part of this is, part of this is, I was kidding when I said that, but stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about it in terms of winning and losing. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Ego
has no place in the claim.
Right. And that's a page out. That's a Jeremyism that I've held near and dear for a couple of years. And it's so true. I was a Division I athlete. The competitive stuff runs through my veins. I thrive off of having something to measure myself against, a starting point and an ending point. One of the things that I love about business development and this industry is, you can, a lot of what we do fits into a spreadsheet. Right? Yeah. It's something, there's so much qualitative stuff that goes into what we do, but it's nice to quantify it sometimes.
It right? really is. So, I mean, and it's hard. It's hard because we're measured that way. We're graded. We're graded and measured that. We're not graded on the job that we do. We're graded on the results that happens.
Yes.
That's the reality. The result is measured by usually numbers, right? Now, but again, it's a fatal flaw. And so getting back to my point, it's like, to some degree, you got to stop thinking about it in those terms, because it's not really. I
was just going to say, I don't know if you can stop thinking about it. You just have to realize that thinking's not going to get you anywhere. There's no answers down that rabbit hole.
Right. There you go, splicing my words. So fair enough. It's not that it's bad or that you should stop altogether, but it needs to be well calibrated. Self-awareness, situational awareness.
I like that. I love that word.
When you start thinking, I want to beat this adjuster, or you're thinking about him as he's the enemy, that's when you need to step back and say, this is not, my ego is getting in the way here, and it's not helping the.
Oh, and trust me, I mean, I have been foaming at the mouth for the homeowner to let this dog off the chain so that I could go rip somebody's throat out. And I realized that there's no real benefit in that. Now, I want to defend them and protect them, and as it pertains to the competitive streak that's in me, and probably in most of you, look, our entire culture is hinged on competition. Our entire economy is hinged on the competitive market, right? And that's how we basically keep ourselves honest, really and truly. So it is hard to take something that is a societal integration in how you were raised. You know, it becomes ingrained.
And turn it off.
And then not grade yourself by that, right? You know, and that's an almost impossibility. But and that's why, you know, we have said on this show 1,000 times that if you don't have that guy that you talk to, a mentor, you need to get one. I mean, and they don't even have to be in the industry necessarily. I mean, I know tons of people out there that can encourage you through these things. And if you're struggling in claims, get help. Get help.
Come to the Pain of the Claim Facebook page.
Yeah, go to the Pain of the Claim Facebook. Great place to ask questions.
Shit, that's good. We're going to remove that.
That's okay. I don't care if you remove it, but I had to make Brent laugh. That was for Brent and Brent only. The Pain of the Claim is there for you to ask questions.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
If you get your teeth kicked in, come in. I mean, come in, because it happens to everybody.
Well, and there's a good chance that you got your teeth kicked in and you didn't have to. So again, setting yourself up in a place, and I get Facebook is not the safest place in the world to say that you messed up. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, and I get that, but I will tell you that if you can find that person, and I would love to tell each and every one of you that are listening, or both of you that are listening.
He brought his girlfriend this time.
You got a mouse in your pocket, I guess. I would love to tell you that just bring it to me and I'll answer any question. The reality is I don't have time to answer all of the questions that are going to come out of it. But if I do have time and it's on the Pain of the Claim page, I will chime in. I will come in, and I know Brent will, I know Donna will, in any of these things. And so whatever question you have, whether it's business model, claims related, whatever it is, how to be creative on social media, that's the place where you can ask these questions, and we will make sure that it's safe. I will defend you.
How is true intelligence measured?
True intelligence is not measured by the facts that you know. It's really measured by the questions that you ask.
And the only stupid question is the one you didn't ask.
Well, I could go on.
Smartest people in the world realize how much they don't know.
Yep.
And I'll also tell you this: the most talented people in the world are coached.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go Chiefs.
How much? Hey, you just want to keep doing cheesy one-liners?
Yeah, like we can. Yeah. Do a whole.
And by the way, not all claims end poorly, but I know that, you know, whether you're doing that post-mortem call to, hey, final check comes in and everything was great, or the claim sucked and we didn't get the result that we wanted. One of the smartest people I've ever met. The guy was just a freaking savant. He was a national director of sales at one of the companies I worked out at. Shout out to Zach. He will never hear this podcast, but I was interviewing with him, and you know, he's asking super competitive company, and he's just the context of what he said was in the interview, and he's asking me all these questions. He's trying to get me tripped up. And if you could imagine, like, sitting there, he's a former pro basketball player, so he's like 6'8", just a beautiful man, and played at Ohio State. And he's sitting there asking me all these questions that are loaded as fuck, and I'm answering them, and every question had like 5 follow-up questions. So it's like, tell me about a time when, okay, well, let's get more specific with that. What happened when you did X? And then why do you think the client did Y? And the reality is, he's trying to see if I'm bullshitting in the interview like everybody does, right? So he took a behavioral interview to a whole new level. And he goes, and I looked at him, I'm like, I know why you're asking this question, dude. I looked at him and said that, and he goes, and he smiles and he goes, the truth is always readily available. He painted me into a corner with one of his questions or lines of questioning. So long story, the truth is always readily available. And sometimes when a claim doesn't go, again, the way that we had hoped, sometimes the truth is the best medicine with a homeowner.
Yeah.
You know? And you had mentioned earlier about just, pick up the phone, take some time, cool off. But when you make that call, it's all right to let the homeowner know everything you did. It's okay that you tried your balls off and it didn't go everybody's way. And I've had quite a few homeowners that, look, it sucks. The situation sucks. And I just spent 3-4 months working my ass off to try to, do what needed to be done. And here we are. And they thank me. Yeah.
I've been thanked by the guy. I appreciate all your hard work. I mean, I've been thanked by that's happened before.
I've also gotten people hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're mad about it. Yeah. And they're still pissed off. So, guys, who the fuck knows?
Well, I mean, and we don't. What I want to say here is it is bad to walk off from a win and not really review sort of what happened, sort of the Reader's Digest or the commentary on the claim. One, you should write it down because there's a lot of things that you probably would have learned. And the other thing is that you should do is go over sort of your thoughts and opinions about how the claim went. And there's a lot of good things that can go on in there. And I'm just going to give you guys this one little marketing tip. If you're a public adjuster, probably one of the most common questions that you get is one of the most common questions that you're going to get is, who's the best insurance carrier? I get that question more than any other question that I have ever gotten is, who's the best insurance carrier? And it's like, and I'm not going to tell you which one that I necessarily think that it is because
claims lately.
Because claims are claims. You know what I'm saying? They're in business to collect premium, not in business to pay claims. And so, and it just happens to be a part of their business. You know what I mean? Paying claims just happens to be a part of their business, but that's not why they thought it was a good idea to get into business. And so they're in business to collect premiums and not pay claims. And they're kind of betting that you don't, and you're betting that they do. And so, it's kind of this give and take tug of war over the whole situation. And they're trying to monitor how much goes out in claims, and they will use all kinds of things. And we could go on and on and on about communication protocols and setting expectations and doing postmortems. And we can sit here. And the reason we talk about these things and the reason we unpack them is so that we can get them out in front of us so that we can see them. And they're not just things that have been rattling around in your head. So if you've thought that, trust me, it's common to think these things, but there's not a lot of information out there as it pertains to the nuances of your job.
I just want to, add, if you're doing your postmortems and you're writing these things down, go back and look, because then you're going to wonder, I don't remember when I didn't know this. I don't remember not knowing this. You'll see your improvement.
It's so important. Yeah. And what was the thing that you did
learn?
Great
advice.
I mean, that's really, what is the thing that you learned on this claim? What is the thing that you learned on this claim that you didn't know before you got into this claim?
Or you used it on the most recent one.
This argument worked.
Yeah, I learned not to do this, and I did this instead, and it won.
Absolutely. That is great freaking advice. Good God. Write that down, somebody. It would be great if we were recording this. So, guys, that is all the time that we have. I want to encourage you to, if you like what we're doing, please give us some comments. For each show, we actually put a post on Facebook right after the show comes out for you guys to comment and interact about the details of the show. So we're looking forward to that. That should come up. So look every Wednesday when a show comes out, there's going to be a follow-up discussion that's going to be held on Facebook. Guys, we always want your ideas and topics. Please press like and subscribe. What am I missing here? I know I want to talk about something.
I want to know where they're listening to us from.
Oh, you can find us. I encourage you guys, if you're sitting at your desk, it's a good time to turn on the YouTube version of what we do, because Donna's got a lot of really cool, fun things that are in the video. So, she does this whole little special video. It's not me or Brent. It's just this special video of things that happen throughout it. And then you can also catch us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts.
What am I missing? YouTube. Yeah.
And then YouTube. We talked about YouTube.
We're also on TikTok. There's a bunch of, we're just posting crazy stuff on there. And Instagram.
So, and I know Brent wants to hear from you. I want to hear from you. I really want to interact with you. So guys, please bring your questions. We love your comments. Any sort of criticisms you have, we are wide open. We'd like to hear it. Again, so that is going to do it for us here at the Rumble. I want to say thanks to Donna for taking care of us and doing all of the hard work, getting us out there in the podcast world and getting us out there on the airwaves. Brent, as always, brother, it is a pleasure unpacking this stuff with you. It is truly one of the great experiences of my life to get to work claims with you, friend. And I really, really do enjoy it. And I mean that.
That is mutual, my friend. That is mutual.
So
you make it all worth it.
Oh, look at you guys.
Thanks. Yeah. It's a day after Valentine's.
It's going to spoon after the show.
It's Broentine's Day today. So
it's time to hit the closing music now.
You know what? We will be back next week. In the meantime, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And we will see you on the next one.
Get my hand on the hammer. Ready to ram you like the fire slammer jammer. Yes, we're coming up, don't even try to diminish it. I won't start it, but I damn sure will finish it.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.